All right, it is 6 o'clock. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right, let's see.
Item 2, public comment. We do not have any public comment forms at this time. Move on to item 3A, to discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding approval of minutes from the meeting held September 19th, 2024.
Does anybody want anything removed from the, okay. Take a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and
Which one didn't work?
motion passes. Oh,
When I see that one.
all right, motion passes.
Item 4A, to discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding approval of a Type 3 site plan for a shell building with multiple suites, case number SP-24-008.
Is it on here, Isaiah? Oh. So I should read. Okay. Cool. Good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission. My name's Robbie Highfield. I'm the Associate Planner for the City of Fate. I'll be giving the staff presentation for Modus Wood Creek Retail, also known as Shops at Wood Creek, Type 3 site plan. So the location is at the northwest corner of Ben Payne and Highway 66, just south of the future Wood Creek 8A site. Right now it's a single track, but we do have a final plat that's in the review process. Site plan SP-24008 only applies to one of the lots in the site plan, which is 2.48 acres. The property is zoned Wood Creek PD, and it abuts Highway 66 to the south, the future 7-Eleven site to the east, Wood Creek 8A to the north, and a single large lot residential house to the west. Description of the project. It's a multi-tenant restaurant and retail building with a end cap drive-through on the west side. It's got shared access off of Highway 66 through a drive shared with 7-Eleven on the east side and the future development to the west. There's also additional access with shared internal drive aisles to access Ben Payne once 7-Eleven's developed. It'll connect there. Right now, there's no users identified, but those users that do move in will have to meet those permitted in the Wood Creek plan development. So this is a Type 3 site plan, so here's the approval criteria. I'll read through them as we go through them. Criterion A, does it comply with all ordinances and design criteria and construction standards? After staff review, the site plan as laid out with the proposed conditions will conform to the Wood Creek PD, the Fate UDO when not addressed in the PD, and all design criteria and construction standards. Criteria B, proposed public improvements and their configuration is adequate to serve. The property complies with all city standards. The final plat is under review, which will establish any applicable easements needed, and the civils for this project have been approved with conditions. Criterion C, to comply with any applicable relevant federal, state, TxDOT, environmental regulations. All of those are met. There's no wetlands to consider, and the water and wastewater have been reviewed in the civil plan process, determined to be adequate to serve. Criterion D, does it comply with any interlocal agreements, public entities, and MUD agreements? The only thing applicable here is MUD, and all the standards are met. The decision body may require additional conditions. Staff has 2 recommended conditions we'll be going over on a later slide. And the decision body may require a written agreement to enforce said conditions. A separate written agreement is not necessary because the site plan effectively acts as that written agreement. And G needs to comply with the comp plan. This is consistent with comp plan goals and complies with the future limits plan. So we run fiscal analyses on almost all our proposed developments. On this one, you'll know normally we include roads, but here, since the only adjacent road is a TxDOT road, there's no road replacement costs, so that portion was left out of the fiscal. High-level summary, though, the estimated taxable value is approximately $2.2 million. The estimated annual tax contribution to the city is about $63,441. Estimated value per acre is $891,618. Annual net revenue, $57,103. Over its 40-year lifespan, can estimate approximately $2.28 million gain, and the revenue to cost ratio is 10 to 1. So staff's recommending approval with conditions. Those 2 conditions are pole-mounted light fixtures shall be no more than 20 feet high when located within 100 feet of the residential district to the north. Pole-mounted light fixtures shall be no more than 25 feet high when located greater than 100 feet of the residential district to the north. And condition 2, sod and landscaped drive-through islands shall be irrigated. That's it, and can take any questions you have.
Can you pull back up the slide on the satellite view? I'm just trying to get a lay of the land. I wasn't here when the 7-Eleven was there, so I'm just trying to figure it out. So 7-Eleven's going to be to the east?
So 7-Eleven's right here, this
Okay.
site. Then this is the development. I sort of ghosted it in, but you can see the building about here.
Okay.
And in gray, you see the drive aisles. To the north, this is Wood Creek 8A.
Okay.
You've got Ben Payne right here and 66 over here. Avondale is down here.
And you did say 7-Eleven will have an exit out into Ben Payne, and those 2 parking lots will be connected, so we will have 2 ways in and out of this area?
Yeah, you'll
Okay.
actually technically have 3. So if we pull up this one,
there it is.
you've got this drive aisle right here that goes to 66, this one here, and then 7-Eleven's over here. You can sort of see this hashed area is where 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven will connect, and if you were to follow that drive through, eventually you would be able to get off to Ben Payne over there.
Perfect, thank you for explaining that.
Okay, I'm just curious, It's, you guys are always good at paying attention to the detail, but you asked for sod and irrigation as one of the conditions. And I'm just wondering what led you to ask for that condition? Was there something some concern that made you specifically call that out for this request?
Yeah, so one of the reviews we did, the second to last one, had them include landscaping on the drive-through island. Let me show you that. The original submittal was just concrete. We had them include it, rather than making them go through, give us the completed irrigation plan before we came here. That's something we can throw in on the building plans, so it's more an administrative note that, hey, you're gonna have to have that done before we take your building plans in.
If I can add, we don't allow hydro seeding in our design standards, and so we always require sod, block sod, as the way to apply turf to any site.
And then I couldn't quite make it out in the drawing. I don't think there's any kind of deceleration lane, right? It's just that with Highway 66 being as busy as it is, I see the right in, right out on, or what do they call that, the pork chop that they have right there. But on the other entrance, the more eastern one, yeah. Is there anything there? I couldn't make it out on the drawing. It seemed like it said there's a deceleration lane there.
It is, it's going through, so this eastern one is being, it's hashed because it's being done, that one's being done with 7-Eleven, correct? And so that one will have a a decel lane right here. I don't believe the western one does, though.
That's right. I remember that now. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you say this is going to share the parking or entrance with the 7-Eleven, but is this not the same 7-Eleven that's going to be sharing an entrance for a daycare?
Yeah, so all of these pieces add together, right? So you've got your daycare up here, 7-Eleven's over here, and then this new development over here, and they've got 2 more lots over here. All the drive aisles you see here, if I were to put the 7-Eleven and the proposed daycare, you'd see all these drive aisles connecting. So they're all sharing drive aisles. That way we can minimize, we can still meet the having 2 entrances, but minimizing the amount of traffic or outlets we're putting, space out the amount of driveways we have. So when I say shared drive aisle, that's really what I mean. They're just multiple sites are able to be served by one entrance.
Yeah, well, if I remember yesterday, I drove through there and I noticed they were putting up some poles for what looked to be signal lights over there. So that ought to help greatly there, but, you know, trying to get into 3 different places off of 66 could be very challenging for.
Right. It depends on where those different trips are going, and ideally, when the entire area is built out, you're going to have 4 at least, maybe 5. 4, yeah. You'll have 4 different entrances off of Ben Payne. So all of that traffic going there is going to have 4 different release points to be spread out. And generally, people are going to take path of least resistance they see. So when one area tends to be backing up, they're going to look for that alternative.
Well, you know, just really my biggest concern is just, you know, from what I see coming in and out of Fresh, you know, people come out of there and almost hit cars daily, you know, with all the traffic trying to get in and out, and you know, with so many businesses trying to share the same interest there. You know, just a public concern, you know, with people's driving skills or lack thereof.
And I just, two things, which I had noticed before on things that have been presented to us. One is the irrigation detail, you know, maybe because it's different, but yeah, nice to see. And the secondary is with regards to the landscaping, a lot of detail on the trees, shrubbery, whatever else. So is this something new, or is this something specific to the developer builder?
No, they're required for all site plans. This is a type 3, so you're seeing the type 3. So if you were to see all the administrative site plans we review, they're included in all of those. They're not always planned out necessarily when you're seeing zoning cases or concept plans. It's a little higher up at that point. But as far as what the planning department sees, we see those all the time.
Again, not that it's in our purview, but it's still interesting to see. Thank you. Anybody else have anything else for Robbie? Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Nice job, Robbie.
Item 2, with this is applicant presentation. Are you the applicant?
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Okay. Would you?
Just approach and please state your name for the record.
Reggie Smith, 1903 Central Drive, Bedford, Texas. What can I do for you?
Hi. Do you have any known entities in the retail or restaurants that are a part of this?
Gotcha. I'm the civil engineer, so I'm not the actual, like, the applicant. So as far as I understand, they don't have any tenants just yet, or at least that none that they've divulged to us. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then, any discussion, concerns? Consider taking a motion?
I have last project that came before us, you had the suggestion that we recommend that council create a developers agreement. The project ultimately didn't move forward, but they did that. And I know this is a smaller project, but since Ryan explained to me that a developer's agreement is what has our downtown businesses generate sales tax revenue, I'd like to talk about with you commissioners, if you'd consider something like that, a recommendation, of course, staff's conditions, but a recommendation to council that they consider a developer agreement to require the retail and restaurant businesses to be sales tax generating so that we don't end up with 8 daycares and 10 donut shops. Just a thought, and I'd love to hear how you all feel about it, because I've seen it go the other way of pads being developed in front of my side of town. We don't have that many commercial spaces in the city of Fayette, and I think we need businesses that don't just pay property tax, that generate sales tax, or then we've got traffic and congestion for not $1 of revenue. So I don't know if anyone would consider that, but I would love to recommend that with staff's conditions if anyone else concurs.
Can I respond to that? Allowed? Okay. I'm just making sure I'm doing that the right thing. I agree with Karen about having something like that, but I almost hesitate for it to be 100%. So I think about Fate and I think about businesses that are missing, such as, even getting a doctor's office here, which ours is not sales tax, but this type of, you start seeing like physical therapy places and things popping up in these strip malls. If we turn around and say it has to be 100% revenue generating, we're limiting some of the business, so maybe it could be percentage of, make a recommendation, something along those lines, that a percentage has to be taxable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes good
And
sense.
I don't even know if we're stepping out of bounds on this one.
I would say a little bit. The question that I would have for P and Z's consideration is how do you incentivize that? Because in putting an artificial barrier or constraint on the types of businesses that you can put that would otherwise be in conformance with the zoning, there would need to be a pretty hefty incentive for the developer to agree to that. Now, the developer wouldn't have to agree to it because it's, otherwise, you have zoning, that's the regulating document, that's the regulating policy. So this would have to be a voluntary agreement between the developer and the city that would have to have some sort of incentive on the part of the city to the developer to give them any kind of incentive to participate in this and to voluntarily restrict themselves in who they could lease these spaces to. Just something for you to think about. There's always the ability to approach a developer and say, hey, this is what we're looking for, and here's how we would like to enter into this agreement or provide you some motivation to participate in this. But just know that, I don't think we could condition an approval of a site plan that is a requirement of the city council's, approving it simply because it's written into the PED to suddenly add this additional condition that constrains the types of users. So those are my immediate thoughts to this proposal.
And it was a new thought to me that's just come by the reality of what I'm seeing built in our city that doesn't generate $1 of revenue, and we're small, and we have limited commercial space left. So I didn't know what to do but throw it out there, and I appreciate you explaining to me the nuances and that we don't want to chase away a doctor's office perhaps, but if something could just raise the issue, I think it needs to be raised before we have 10 daycares and 5 donut shops, but.
Well, I'll make the argument against it just to see if this makes sense. But, I mean, the argument against it is people are still going to go to a daycare, and so they're going to take their business to another city, another town, and all those workers will be in another city and another town. And all of our citizens who need this service are now no longer able to get it here in Fate, right? And I think it does bring some resiliency to that development if they have multiple types of businesses and we're not restricting to just specific types. It keeps the overall development healthier if they don't have these restrictions, and that may keep some of the space empty. So, I mean, I think that's the argument against it. I think if it is a very choice piece of real estate, and I think that's kind of the argument you were making last meeting, that wasn't a very special area of Fate where we're trying to really build up development. I don't know that this spot is, though it is heavily traveled. It could be argued that it is, but I don't know that this is an area that we're really trying to showcase our city and build up a specific type of development.
Well, it's soon going to be a quick hop and a jump away from HEB that is like a big deal in Texas. It doesn't wow me, but people travel far and wide and celebrate HEBs, and it's in close proximity to an enormous plan that Rockwall has just approved at Stodge Hill and Justin and I-30 frontage that's going to generate traffic, they suggest, even from other states coming to shop there. So I don't know. I think it's going to go up in desirability. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see more things bring revenue to the city of Fate, I guess is my concern. The daycare's already locked down, right? The daycare's not going anywhere. I don't think we need two right there.
Mr. Chair, may I? Yes. One thing I want to just share with y'all is to first off, to speak highly of the work that our current economic development team has done for many years to bring just, uses and users that we could only imagine that, have started to spur this this new development of a more robust commercial service, offering in the city of Fayette as we've grown. But we're also recruiting a new economic development director. And so it's going to continue to grow our economic development work. And their focus is going to be on trying to recruit choice users, choice operators, choice businesses, and employers to our community. And they work very closely with the planning department. That's not really our wheelhouse, although we have a role to play in working with developers. But I love this conversation because these are the things that we talk about all the time. And so, the council has, directed in the MDD, the Municipal Development District, have directed staff to recruit a new economic development director. So I think that's going to help in growing the capacity even more than we have now of that department, and trying to respond to some of the needs that we all recognize. I mean, Karen's spot on. We need more sales tax generating users. But I don't know if again, the development agreement in this circumstance is really going to be the right tool.
Okay.
Also want to point out, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, as a subdivision, this is part of the Wood Creek commercial zoning. Wood Creek has a development agreement, do they not?
Yeah, it's an old one, and it doesn't really have an effect on the kind of things we're talking about.
True, but where I'm getting to is you might risk needing to open up an existing development agreement that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, the request in front of the P&Z tonight is for the site plan itself. We're sort of, as you mentioned, we're sort of starting to mold into that zoning side of things rather than the site plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what the vote is for.
Thank everyone, I thank y'all for the good feedback. So when is the appropriate time to hit this point?
A development agreement would be put in place with zoning, not at the site plan. The site
Right.
plan comes after entitlements, which the site's already entitled.
Well, thank you for giving me the time to get it off my chest, but I can see that it doesn't seem to be the appropriate way to get it done, but at least we talked about it, so thank y'all for that.
Yeah, good conversation, which is awesome. So if there's nothing else, then we would consider taking a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of case SP 24-008.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have
Is
a
this with
second.
staff conditions?
Apologies, yes, with staff conditions.
All right, motion passes.
Item 5, Director of Planning and Development Services reports announcements pertaining to city activities, upcoming events, future legislative activities, and other matters related thereto.
Thank you, Reggie. Not too much today. I just wanted to let you know that next week, our entire planning department is going to be attending the APA Texas State Planning Conference in Allen. We're looking forward to that. It's always a great and edifying event. And then, just so you know, in early November, I will be attending the ESRI Planning Directors Summit in Florida. It's ESRI is the kind of the main GIS company. GIS is that mapping software that we use regularly in our geographic analysis and whatnot. I'll be actually presenting at this conference, which is pretty exciting, about our innovative use of ArcGIS Urban in our fiscal analysis work. That's some stuff that we talked about when the Lafayette Crossing came in. But ESRI, the company, is very excited about our innovation of that tool, so we get to share it with all the other planning directors across the country, which is pretty exciting. Other than that, there are no other events, legislative activities, whatnot. and we'll be looking forward to seeing you all in November.
Thank you, Ryan. Does anyone else have anything they want to speak on or close with? All right. Well, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion passes. It is 6:31.